news, everyone!
Good news indeed, everybody, because we are finally getting another video up here. It's been a while, yes, I know, things have been crazy, and between being busy and a lack of creativity, it's really led to a dearth of videos. But finally, here we are, and what is today's topic? Well, finally time, I think, to make a follow-up video to the one I did about Calvin from the movie Life. Now, if I was better at this YouTube game, I would have made this like a long time ago, as it is one of my more popular videos, but never late than never, I guess, right? So let's start with that little poll I put in the last video. It seems that overwhelmingly the amount of you do not believe that Calvin is evil. And I would agree with you. Also, I love that a lot of you put your reasonings for why you believe that he was evil or not in the comments. I think it's great. I have read all of them. I just want to shout out this comment that made an excellent point about moral relativity. Calvin would not be constrained by our morals, thus he can't really be judged by our standards. Though some of you are still not fond of the little guy. And I can't really blame you after what he did to Ryan Reynolds. But for this video, I want to look at the next step. See, at the end of the video, Calvin ends up making it on Earth. And today I would like to consider what Calvin's options are, like what he may do, and is he even a threat to humanity? Yes, he can certainly hold his own in a spacecraft against a few scientists, but is he really any threat to us here on Earth as a species? Sure, he could still kill people, but plenty of animals kill, so... But the problem of trying to figure out Calvin's next move is we don't really know much about him. Kind of puts us in a little pickle. I will say that Calvin got kind of lucky with where he landed. I mean, yes, the chances of him falling in the ocean is pretty high, but still, it's good for him. Pulled the reverse stitch. He is well designed to make an escape and survive in the ocean. I have no doubt that Calvin would escape that situation at the end and survive. With each cell being a muscle, we have seen him be able to move around in a weightless environment of space, which is kind of like the water, but there's actually resistance in water, so I would say he would even have an easier time. And while Calvin does need oxygen to survive, we have seen him go a very long time without it. So basically, he could live in the ocean like a dolphin or a whale, but, you know, deadly. I would say Calvin is well suited to become a dominant apex predator of the ocean. And I really see no issue with him trying to evade our detection. And with that, maybe that would be the end of Calvin's story. He just goes off into the ocean like Free Willy. Yes, he could cause problems with the food chain of the oceans, and that's definitely not good when you introduce a predator into a new environment, but so far we haven't discussed if he can multiply or not. So if it's just one little Calvin out there, what's the big deal? And that really could just be it, folks. He could just go off and survive in the ocean if he is just an animal, or if he was acting purely in self-defense when he was in space, he could just be on his own. But let's say Calvin is evil, or more likely, let's say Calvin sees humans now as an existential threat to his survival. Because I doubt at this point any encounter with humans is going to be good. So if he is out for blood, can he really, you know, walk the walk or swim the swim? I would say not in his current state. But we don't know a lot about him, and certain variables could be quite important in this situation. One thing is his size. There isn't a strong reason for me to believe that he will actually stay that size. We have seen him grow quite quickly, and he managed to grow to the size where he's the perfect predator to maneuver in that small space station. Now, personally, I find it not unreasonable that Calvin could keep growing once in the ocean. He could keep feeding and keep growing, and if his size does depend on his environment, then yes, this would be a problem. Because if Calvin could grow to the size of a shark or a whale or a Meg, well, we would have a kaiju on our hands pretty quickly. And we know he's highly intelligent, so if he can keep growing, and we know he's deadly, and he can plan attacks, then yes, that could disrupt trade. It could, hurt our resources. It could cut down traveling. That would make the world far more dangerous. But it's still one creature that, as far as we know, is confined to the ocean. So he could definitely be a threat, and I don't see us getting rid of him, especially if he gets big and becomes just a giant amoeba, sucking up everything in the ocean. But humans would go on. We would just adapt to it. Hell, in Pacific Rim, you got monsters jumping out of the ocean, every few months, and humans just kind of like, meh, cope with it. We are very adaptable. However, we are working under the assumption that Calvin is just one. Now, every cell is a brain cell and a muscle cell, which makes me think, what if he could split? What if Calvin could produce asexually? If he could split, there would be 2 of him, and, split again and more. You just could exponentially grow. And in the end, he'll have a full-grown army. Even if he only can get as big as he is, if he can just, pop out more Calvins, which I would assume maybe act as a hive mind, maybe? And whoa, what if they were the big Calvins? What if Calvin can keep getting bigger and split apart and, coordinate attacks? I think that would be a threat to humanity. Not an extinction-level threat, but a threat. Considering how he planned his moves so well in the film, it's no jump to say he could learn to understand how we use the ocean for fishing and our trade and, intentionally disrupt our lives. And if there is multiple of him, this could be happening all around the globe. And then there's the scariest scenario. It came to my attention when I saw this comment. Person brings up Calvin's appearance. He asks if things had went better, would Calvin have evolved to look less menacing? Because we have to admit, he looks pretty damn scary. When he grows more, he starts looking scary. But if the initial conflict hadn't occurred, would he look like a villain alien? And if this is the case that he evolved into a more menacing looking creature because of his situation, that could point to being able to adapt to his environment, which I think is the most dangerous aspect.
It sees Derry's hand at one point and adopts 5 limbs because it sees it and sees that that is useful. We're not reliant on it having 2 legs or 4 legs. It has as many legs as it needs to have in that situation.
The organism of Calvin is a survivor. He's able to survive and persist in the most hostile environments of space. And adaptation is key to that survival. So again, it's not much of a jump to think, hey, Calvin can adapt to the world he's living in. And if he can adapt to his surroundings, what happens if he decides he wants to go on land? Can he do that? Would he be able to adapt to move on land? His current form works great for the ocean because it worked great for space. I lean to that he can adapt to his surroundings because he's on that space rock and he's very small. He's conserving his energy to survive in that hostile environment. And then he just happens to be able to move around really well in space, and that same benefit would help him in the ocean. But if he could continue to evolve and make it to land, then that is dangerous. Mixed with what I think the very strong possibility that he can asexually produce and that he could grow, we would not be at the top of the food chain. Calvin then would be an extinction level threat. See, Calvin coming to Earth is dangerous, even if we might not see it at first. And that's why they were so concerned in the movie about him. Why they had firewall after firewall to keep him under control. Because we don't know. Our ignorance of what he truly is, or his motives, or how he could survive. Our ignorance of that is why the scientists sacrificed their lives to stop him. Each one of them died trying to either kill or contain this creature. Because we don't know what he is capable of. And from what we've seen, with what could be possible, we would have to fight for our very lives. So those are kind of the things I think could happen, could be the next step for Calvin. Now, do I think that even in the worst possibility, like that he could multiply and go on land, do I think we would be completely extinct? Maybe. Humans are extremely adaptable, just like Calvin, so eventually learn how to survive. Once again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little video. What other ways do you think he could do damage? And do you think he's actually that dangerous to us? Not to us on an individual level, but us on a species-wide. Do you think he could be completely contained to the sea? What other crazy things do you think Calvin might be able to do? I tried to keep it within the realm of what we've kind of seen with him, because he is an alien that we don't know much about, so like, you could say random crazy stuff. Now, do I want to see a Life 2? Would I want to see what comes next? Well, if they make it, I will see it, but I actually don't want to see it. I honestly enjoy movies that just end like that, where you don't know what's going to happen next. And it just allows you, the viewer, to tap into your imagination and just imagine all the possibilities. And I like it when movies do that, and they don't have to spoon feed everything to you. So I don't really want a sequel because I like the ambiguous ending, and I do appreciate that. So anyway, again, please leave your comments. Please tell me if you agree, if you have any different thoughts, and let me know any other films you want me to look at. I am personally a big fan of horror. I would like to make more videos, but if you have any suggestions, please throw them my way. And that will do it for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Watch time is important, as well as likes and subscribe. So please hit that like button and please subscribe. Every subscriber helps. And of course, check out any other videos. And as always, stay saxy, my friends.